just as for complete transparency, y'all have already known how I feel about this. And to be fair, I have had X-Men, the animated series, the original one. I have had them on my, like Erica and Julia Lewald, great, awesome people. We had them on this channel, the writers and showrunners of the original X-Men, the animated series, which was about as, to me, peak animation, American animation, along with Batman, the animated series. But they did bring it back, or they are going to be bringing that back. And really, to my knowledge, Erica and Julia Lewald, they're part of the project, but they're not in the same role at all. They're just kind of there as consultants. So there's that. And they are basically saying that this is going to be reflective, and we know what this means, of the world now. Let's read into this right now. And the latest indication that the series will suffer from the same critical, what did it say? The same critical, lost my spot there, theory-based writing that has doomed so many. I'm reading this from Bounding in the comments, by the way. X-Men 97, head writer Bo DeMaio, so he's the head writer, and he suggested that the upcoming Disney Plus revival of the classic Marvel series will focus on today's world woven into its story. DeMaio provided his hint at X-Men 97's planned direction during a recent discussion with the direct writer and regarding the various ways in which the fan favorite incarnation of the Marvel super teams return to the small screen will differ from their initial outing. Before delving into the topic, DeMaio did open his talk by clarifying, though he and his team plan to make changes to the show, one aspect they wanted to carry over was the earnestness of its characters, particularly how their emotions are on full display. They're about to butcher this, bros. This is dead on arrival. For me, it made sense once I met Julie and Eric, who we've met, Lewald and Larry Houston, who were creators and directors of the original series, who are literally the best people you could possibly imagine. Eric and Julia Lewald are fucking awesome people, making no mistake. It says, as they are so earnest and serious people, he added, when you watch the series, I think what we remember about it is that there is such an earnestness to all the characters. Everyone's emotions are on full display. Everyone is sincere. And it's just, when you meet the Lewalds and Larry, it's just like, oh, I totally get it. To that end, he revealed his philosophy towards the revival's production, explaining, I think the challenge to me was honoring that earnestness, that emotional sincerity in the show, where it wasn't just about the big bad of the day. That was almost in some cases an afterthought. It was really about the relationship of this found family and how they cared about each other and had disagreements. Okay, I have no problem with that, whatever. But he further noted, and I always just come back whenever we're in the writer's room or talking about directors, it's just like we have to have earnest emotion in every scene, because I really do think that was the secret sauce of the original series. How X-Men 97 may improve upon or differ from the original series, I don't know if improve would be the word I'd use. Yeah, you guys aren't capable of doing that. Trust me. I think that the show is amazing in so many different ways. I think that I would say that the generation who grew up watching the show, we have grown up, and the world is a very different place than when that show was first made. Okay, right there is your critical error. That's your critical error right there, because you looked at it like, well, we've changed and it's different, and therefore we must change the material. Bullshit. What made this attractive is the fact that it had aged so well. When you watch, and I did videos on this, when you watch X-Men, the animated series, as an adult, it's better. Because the messages and the concepts you pick up on because you have the experience, right? It doesn't need to be changed in that regards, because it alone and the model that it already had was already good enough. Right? It holds, that's what holding up and being able to transcend generations actually means. Okay? So if you try to change that method, you essentially change the show. And so it is more of a question of what does that show look like, knowing what we know and how it looks like in today's world with everything that has changed. He's acting like we live in a completely different world. Like that shit was like, I don't know, more akin to being 100 years ago, and it's not. I will say what has changed in this world is that somehow in the elements of the things that the social justice left advocate, we move backwards, because this came out in the 90s. I believe definitely when it comes to this racism bullshit and all of that, we were over that. It's not to say that there weren't racist aspects. It was not to say that there weren't racist people. It was not to say that there wasn't these motherfuckers that were focusing, hyper-emphasizing all of this other bullshit. But for the most part, we were over it. The 90s was like peak American living because we were over that. We didn't give a shit about. A lot of us that came up, no matter where we were from, did not really give a shit about that stuff. Like we didn't care. We didn't care. Like you look at like the media, why it was so much better, because it was able to be basically consumed by anybody, right? You had casts that were all fucking black, that were loved by people that were of different races, be it in the Martins of the world, be it in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Be it in all these, even the UPN stuff. That was all awesome. But then you also had like fucking Married with Children and Seinfeld, which had more basically almost exclusively white cast, but they were liked by everybody. We were already over this. We were already well over this. Even the media that was for us, for the younger people, which, older people had, you had Wayans and everything it was that they were doing, and we had as the younger people like all that, which already had like mixed race talents, and it was funny as fuck. Like we didn't care. We were over that hump. The racism shit, we were over that hump, and it was loved by everybody. And then we moved backwards, and now somehow we have all of this hyper-emphasizing of sexuality, race, and you think we went back to the fucking Stone Ages, man. So I would say that's how the world changed, but it's because of folks doing shit like this. It was artificial. So if you really wanted to make good work that everybody could, because this is a layup, it's the X-Men, but that everybody could consume, you literally repeat the model of what you wouldn't try to change it to suit it for today's audience, which all it means is that we're going to hyper-emphasize social justice here. And which to the liars would say, oh, well, X-Men was always about that. No, it wasn't. Go watch my video titled X-Men and the Social Justice Myth. We're not going to allow you to hijack that shit to act like it means what you wanted it to mean. So they're trying to figure out, because the world has changed so much, how do they alter that? And, I forgot. This is one of the guys that are part of it. This Jake Castorena guy. And most people that work for them are all typical raging leftists and stuff like that. I mean, that's just kind of a requirement. And so when you did look up, it was so predictable. You looked at almost everybody that was involved in the project of X-Men 97. They're all raging fucking leftists, like all of them. It's dead on arrival. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.